All right, so are you ready to step into the classroom and inspire like the next generation of beauty pros?
That's awesome.
We're going to dive deep today into prepping you for a beauty vocational teacher interview.
Hmm.
And not with just like generic advice,
Yeah.
but stuff that will really make you stand out from the crowd.
Exactly.
We're going to be using some fantastic resources from RoleCatcher,
Mm-hmm.
their career guide and interview guide,
Yes.
both zeroed in on what it takes to land this role.
Exactly.
Think of this as like your secret weapon, folks.
Absolutely.
We're going to dissect those tricky interview questions.
Yes.
And give you the tools to craft answers that showcase your unique strengths and experience.
Mm-hmm.
And don't worry, we're not just throwing you in the deep end.
No.
We'll sprinkle in some career insights in the guide to paint a bigger picture of what this job is all about.
I think that's a really important point to make.
Yeah.
It's not just about acing the interview.
Right.
It's about understanding the full scope of this career path, the potential growth opportunities.
Yeah. And really how your skills fit into the larger beauty education landscape.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Okay.
First up, let's get a feel for what this role actually entails.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about being a stylist or a
Right.
makeup artist here.
Because
It's about taking all that expertise
Mhm.
and passion
Yes.
and using it to guide others.
Think mentor.
Yeah.
Think educator.
Yeah.
Someone who can break down complex techniques and inspire students to reach their full potential.
Now, before we jump into the nitty-gritty of the interview questions,
Right.
I wanted to highlight something interesting from RoleCatcher's Career Guide.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about different career stages for a beauty vocational teacher,
Yes.
meaning you're not just stuck in one spot forever.
That's a really important point.
Right.
This role can be a stepping stone to leadership positions, curriculum development, even opening your own beauty school someday.
Yeah.
It's about understanding where you fit in and where you want to go.
And here's something else that caught my eye.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics projects a 5% growth in beauty industry jobs over the next decade.
Wow.
That means skilled educators like you will be in high demand.
Absolutely.
And RoleCatcher's Career Guide goes even deeper,
Yeah.
outlining specific career paths you could pursue, from specialized training programs to advanced certifications.
Right.
It's all about staying ahead of the curve
Right.
and knowing where the industry is headed.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's dive into the heart of this deep dive.
Okay.
The interview questions.
Let's do it.
RoleCatcher's interview guide has 9 common questions we'll tackle, giving you the insider scoop on how to knock their socks off.
Yeah.
For each question, we'll break it down.
Okay.
What the interviewer's really asking, what kind of answer they're hoping for,
Right.
and how you can use your unique experience to shine.
Perfect.
We'll also throw in some potential follow-up questions
Yes.
to keep you on your toes and help you think critically about your answers.
Absolutely.
Remember, the more prepared you are,
Yeah.
the more confident you'll feel walking into that room,
Exactly.
ready to rock this interview.
Yes, I am.
Question number 1.
Okay.
Tell us about your experience teaching beauty courses. Seems straightforward,
Right?
but there's a lot more to it than just listing off what you've taught.
Think of this as your elevator pitch.
Okay.
You want to showcase the depth and breadth of your teaching experience,
Fine.
highlighting your unique teaching style and your ability to connect with students.
Mhm.
It's not just about what you've taught,
Right.
it's about how you've taught it.
So how do we make this answer really sing?
Start by mentioning specific courses you've taught,
Okay.
but then go deeper. Talk about the different age groups or skill levels you've worked with. Did you teach a group of seasoned professionals looking to upskill?
Yeah.
Or were you mentoring high school students just starting their journey?
And don't forget to sprinkle in those specific examples from your experience. Maybe you developed an innovative lesson plan that really engaged your students.
Yes.
Or you helped a struggling student master a difficult technique.
Exactly.
Stories stick with people.
They do. They do.
They really do.
Way more than just like listing off facts.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I think this is really cool.
Okay.
RoleCatcher's AI can actually help you tailor your answer to the specific job you're applying for.
It can.
So let's say you're interviewing for a position that emphasizes hands-on training.
Okay.
You can use RoleCatcher to analyze the job description and make sure your answer highlights your experience in that area.
That's a really smart way to use the tool.
It's like having a personalized cheat sheet for each interview.
It is.
Now, based on your initial response,
Okay.
the interviewer might follow up with something like,
Okay.
what specific teaching methods do you find most effective in beauty education?
That's a good one.
Be ready to elaborate and explain why you choose certain approaches over others.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to get specific. Talk about your philosophy of education.
All right, moving on to question number 2.
Okay, number 2.
How do you stay current with the latest trends and techniques in the beauty industry?
Go ahead.
This is all about showing them that you're not stuck in the past.
Right. They want to see that you're passionate about continuous learning.
Yeah.
And that you're bringing those fresh perspectives into the classroom.
So how do we demonstrate that we're on the cutting edge?
Highlight your involvement in professional development courses, workshops, conferences, anything that shows you're actively seeking out new knowledge.
Okay.
Mention any certifications you've earned or industry publications you follow religiously.
And here's where things get really exciting.
Okay.
RoleCatcher's Career Guide delves into some of the hottest trends shaping the beauty industry,
Oh, tell me.
like sustainable beauty practices and the rise of personalized skincare.
Interesting.
Dropping those keywords into your answer can show them you're in the know.
Absolutely. It's all about connecting the dots between those trends and your teaching. Yeah. Maybe you've incorporated clean beauty products into your curriculum, or you've developed a lesson plan on how to analyze skin undertones using AI technology.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right.
Shows you're tech savvy, too.
Exactly.
Now, let's say you mentioned experimenting with a new hair coloring technique
Okay.
that you learned at a recent workshop. The interviewer might ask, can you give me a specific example of how you've incorporated a recent trend into your teaching?
Yeah, be ready to go into detail and explain how you made it relevant for your students.
All right, question number 3.
Okay.
This one can be a bit tricky.
Right.
How do you handle difficult students or challenging classroom situations? Every teacher has to deal with this at some point.
Absolutely.
And they want to see how you approach conflict resolution.
Right.
So how do we navigate this potential minefield?
Focus on your communication and problem-solving skills.
Okay.
Explain that you believe in open dialogue and active listening, trying to understand the root of the issue before jumping to conclusions.
And of course, a concrete example will really drive the point home.
It will.
Talk about a time when you had a student who was disruptive or disengaged,
Yeah.
and how you were able to address the situation constructively, maybe through like a one-on-one conversation,
Yeah.
or by adjusting your teaching approach.
Right. And this is where RoleCatcher's AI can be incredibly helpful.
Oh, how so?
Their AI-powered feedback tool analyzes your practice interview responses
Okay.
and provides suggestions for improvement.
So if you're struggling to articulate your conflict resolution approach, RoleCatcher can give you personalized tips
It can.
on how to make your answer more impactful.
Absolutely.
It's like having a personal interview coach in your pocket.
It is.
Now, let's say you mentioned using a specific conflict resolution technique.
Okay.
The interviewer might follow up with, can you explain how that technique has helped you create a more positive learning environment?
Be ready to go into detail.
Okay, let's tackle question number 4.
Okay.
How do you ensure that all students are adequately prepared for their licensing exams?
This one's all about results.
Yeah.
They want to see that you understand the importance of these exams
Right.
and that you have a proven track record of helping students succeed. They're looking for evidence of your effectiveness as an educator.
So how do we demonstrate that we're the exam prep guru they're looking for?
Start by outlining your teaching methods and any specific strategies you use to prepare students,
Okay.
like incorporating practice tests, review sessions, or targeted study guides. Do you provide extra support for students who are struggling?
Yeah.
Do you teach test-taking strategies?
This is also a great opportunity to mention any impressive pass rates your students have achieved.
Absolutely. Numbers speak volumes. So if you can quantify your success, it will definitely make an impact.
And here's where RoleCatcher's Career Guide can provide some valuable insights. It emphasizes the importance of aligning your curriculum with the specific requirements of the licensing exam. Mentioning this shows them you're not just teaching in a vacuum,
Right.
but you're preparing students for real-world success.
Exactly.
So you could say something like, I'm meticulous about staying up to date on the latest licensing exam requirements, and I incorporate those standards into every aspect of my teaching.
Perfect.
Now be prepared for follow-up questions like,
Okay.
what specific resources or materials do you use to help students master the content? Or how do you identify areas where students need additional support?
These are your chances to shine by showcasing your knowledge and passion for helping students succeed.
Okay, question number 5 is all about adaptability.
Oh, okay.
Can you tell us about a time when you had to adjust your teaching style to fit the needs of a particular student or group of students.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we really see the importance of understanding different learning styles
Right.
and being flexible in our approach.
Yeah. They want to see that you're not a one-size-fits-all kind of teacher.
Right.
And that you can tailor your approach to meet the diverse needs of your students.
So what's the key to answering this question effectively?
Specificity.
Okay.
Don't just say you're adaptable.
Mm-hmm.
Give a concrete example of a time when you had to modify your teaching style
Okay.
to accommodate a specific student's needs or a particular learning environment.
For instance, you could talk about a student who was a visual learner
Mm-hmm.
and how you incorporated more visual aids into your lesson plans to help them grasp the concepts.
Right. Or you could discuss a time when you had to adapt your teaching
Yeah.
to accommodate a student with a physical disability.
And don't forget to highlight the positive outcome.
Absolutely.
Explain how your adaptation led to improved understanding,
Mm-hmm.
increased engagement,
Yeah.
or a more inclusive learning environment.
And RoleCatcher's AI can be helpful here too.
Oh, how so?
You can use their feedback tool
Okay.
to practice different ways of phrasing your answer
Mhm.
and see which version resonates best.
So instead of just saying, I adjusted my teaching style,
Right.
you could say something like, I noticed that this student was really struggling with the textbook material.
Hmm.
So I created a series of interactive online quizzes
Yeah.
that allowed them to learn at their own pace
Mm-hmm.
and get immediate feedback.
That's a great example.
It's all about showcasing your ability to think on your feet
Yes.
and meet the unique needs of your students.
Exactly. Now, the interviewer might follow up with something like,
Okay.
what strategies do you use to assess your students' learning styles
Mhm.
and identify areas where they might need additional support?
Okay.
Be prepared to discuss your assessment methods
All right.
and how you use that information to inform your teaching.
Let's move on to a question that gives you a chance to really shine.
Okay, I like these.
Can you tell us about a particularly successful lesson or project
Mhm.
you have implemented in the classroom?
Ooh,
This is your moment to brag a little.
I love it.
Choose something that you're truly proud of,
Yes.
something that demonstrates your creativity, your passion for teaching,
Mm-hmm.
and your ability to create a memorable learning experience.
They want to see that you're not just going through the motions,
Right.
but that you're putting thought and effort
Mm-hmm.
into crafting engaging and effective lessons.
So what makes for a winning answer here?
Choose a lesson or project that really stands out,
Done.
one that had a significant impact on your students.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly explain the learning objectives,
Right.
the activities involved, and the assessment methods,
Mhm.
but most importantly, focus on the outcomes.
Okay.
How did this lesson or project benefit your students?
Yeah.
Did it spark their creativity?
Mhm.
Did it deepen their understanding of a complex concept?
Okay.
Did it lead to any tangible results like improved skills or increased confidence?
So instead of just saying, we did a project on makeup techniques, you could say something like, I designed a project where students had to research historical makeup trends
Ooh, I like it.
and then create a modern interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
This project not only taught them about makeup history and technique,
Yeah.
but it also challenged them to think creatively and develop their own unique style.
Perfect.
Now be prepared for follow-up questions like,
Okay.
how did you assess the effectiveness of this project?
Mm-hmm.
Or what feedback did you receive from students?
These questions give you a chance to showcase your ability to reflect on your teaching
Mm-hmm.
and make adjustments based on student feedback.
All right, question number 7 is all about the digital age.
The digital age.
How do you incorporate technology into your teaching?
Ooh.
They want to see that you're comfortable using technology to enhance your teaching
Yeah.
and that you're familiar with the tools and platforms relevant to the beauty industry.
Right.
This is where your understanding of the digital landscape
Mm-hmm.
and how it's transforming beauty education really comes into play. RoleCatcher's Career Guide has a great section on technology trends,
It does.
highlighting things like virtual reality simulations for hairstyling,
Oh, wow.
augmented reality apps for makeup application,
Very cool.
and online learning platforms for beauty theory.
So interesting.
Dropping those keywords into your answer can make a big impact.
It can, but remember, it's not just about listing the tools.
Right.
Explain how you use those tools to enhance student learning
Yeah.
and create a more engaging and effective learning experience.
So maybe you use online quizzes to assess understanding,
Mm-hmm.
social media to share industry news and trends,
Yes.
or video tutorials to demonstrate complex techniques.
Absolutely.
But you could say something like, I've been using this amazing app
Okay.
that allows students to practice applying makeup virtually.
Oh, cool.
They can experiment with different looks and get instant feedback on their technique
Yeah.
without having to use real products.
That's awesome.
Now, be prepared for follow-up questions like, what are your thoughts on the role of technology in the future of beauty education? Or how do you ensure that students are using technology responsibly and ethically?
These questions show that you're not just tech savvy,
Yeah.
but you're also thoughtful about the implications of technology in education.
All right, moving on to question number 8.
Right.
Which focuses on inclusivity.
Okay.
How do you ensure that your course content is inclusive and culturally sensitive? This is such an important topic,
It is.
and it's one that many schools are prioritizing in their hiring decisions.
They want to see that you're mindful of different cultural perspectives.
Right.
And that you're sensitive to the needs of students from diverse backgrounds.
So how do we approach this question with authenticity and sensitivity?
Start by discussing your personal philosophy on inclusivity and diversity.
Okay.
Explain why you believe in creating a classroom where all students feel respected and valued, regardless of their race, ethnicity, gender identity, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic background.
Then share specific strategies you use to ensure that your course content is inclusive and culturally sensitive.
Right?
Do you use diverse examples and case studies in your teaching? Do you incorporate materials from a variety of cultural perspectives?
Yeah.
Do you invite guest speakers from different backgrounds to share their experiences with your students?
And remember, it's not just about the content itself, it's also about the learning environment you create. Do you use inclusive language?
Yeah.
Do you create a space where students feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and perspectives without fear of judgment?
So you could say something like, I'm committed to using gender-neutral language when discussing hairstyling techniques. And I always make sure my examples include a diverse range of hair textures and styles.
Perfect.
Now, be prepared for follow-up questions like, can you share an example of how you've addressed a situation where a student felt excluded or marginalized? Or how do you stay informed about the latest developments in diversity and inclusion?
Those are great follow-ups.
Okay, last but not least,
Last one.
question number 9.
Okay.
How do you balance hands-on training with theory in your teaching? This question gets to the heart of beauty education,
It does.
the balance between theoretical knowledge and practical skills.
They want to see that you understand the importance of both.
Yeah.
And that you're able to integrate them effectively into your teaching.
So how do we strike that perfect balance?
Start by explaining your philosophy on the relationship between theory and practice in beauty education.
Okay.
Emphasize that you believe both are essential for developing well-rounded professionals.
All right.
Then discuss specific strategies you use to integrate theory and practice in your lessons.
Okay.
Do you start with a theoretical overview before moving into hands-on activities? Do you use real-world examples and case studies to illustrate theoretical concepts?
Yeah.
Do you encourage students to apply their theoretical knowledge to solve practical problems?
So you could say something like, I believe that students need a strong foundation in theory before they can truly master the practical skills.
Yeah.
So I always start my lessons with a discussion of the scientific principles behind the technique we're learning.
That's a great example.
And don't forget to mention any specific teaching techniques you use to bridge the gap between theory and practice.
Right.
For example, you could talk about how you use demonstrations, role-playing,
Yeah.
or case studies to help students connect theoretical concepts to real-world applications.
Excellent.
Now, be prepared for follow-up questions, like,
Okay.
how do you assess student learning in both theoretical and practical areas? Or what feedback mechanisms do you use to ensure that students are mastering both aspects of the curriculum?
These questions give you a chance to showcase your expertise in assessment and feedback.
And remember, RoleCatcher's AI-powered feedback tool can be invaluable here.
It can.
You can practice your answers to these questions and get personalized tips on how to make your responses more concise, impactful,
Yes.
and tailored to the specific job you're applying for.
It's like having a personal interview coach in your pocket.
That's right. These tools can really help you feel more confident and prepared,
Absolutely.
which will shine through in your interview.
It will.
But it's not just about the tools.
No.
It's about the passion and dedication you bring to the table. Your enthusiasm for beauty education is contagious.
Yes.
And that's something that no AI can replicate.
Absolutely.
So let's move on to the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
where we'll wrap up with some key takeaways
Yeah.
and some final thoughts to leave you feeling inspired and ready to rock that interview.
Sounds good.
Okay. So let's circle back to that first question about your teaching experience.
Okay.
You know, it might feel basic,
Yeah.
but remember, this is your chance to really make a strong first impression and showcase what makes you unique.
Okay. So it's not just about listing off the courses I've taught.
What are some ways I can make my answers stand out?
Think about weaving in like anecdotes that highlight your teaching style and your ability to connect with students.
Okay.
Did you ever have a student who was struggling and you found a creative way to help them understand the material?
Yeah.
Did you develop a lesson plan that really sparked your students' creativity?
Oh, I get it. So instead of just saying I taught a course on color theory,
Right.
I can say something like, I once had a student who was really struggling to understand complementary colors.
Uh-huh.
So I brought in a bunch of different fabrics and had them experiment with creating different color combinations.
I love it.
It really clicked for them. And they ended up creating this amazing textile art piece.
Exactly. That kind of story shows your passion
Yeah.
and your ability to think outside the box. Plus, it gives the interviewer a glimpse into your personality and teaching style.
That's a good point.
And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can actually analyze the specific job description you're applying for and highlight the skills that are most important to that particular school or program.
So if the job description emphasizes experience with adult learners
Yeah.
or a specific beauty specialization, I can use RoleCatcher to make sure those keywords are woven into my answer.
That's right.
That's really helpful.
It's all about tailoring your answers to show them you're a perfect fit.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to the second question about staying current with trends.
Okay.
It's not enough to just say you attend workshops or read magazines. They want to see that you're actively integrating those trends into your teaching.
I see. So how do I show that I'm not just keeping up with trends,
Yeah.
but actually bringing them into the classroom?
Think about specific examples.
Okay.
Did you recently learn a new cutting technique? That's all the rage on social media.
Yeah.
Did you incorporate a discussion of clean beauty products into your curriculum?
Oh.
Maybe you even had your students create a social media campaign for a fictional beauty brand. Incorporating the latest digital marketing strategies.
Ooh, I like that.
Right.
It shows that I'm not only aware of the trends,
Yeah.
but also thinking about how to make them relevant for my students.
Exactly. Now, let's say you mentioned incorporating a new hair coloring technique you learned at a recent workshop.
Okay.
The interviewer might follow up with, can you elaborate on how you adapted that technique for your student's skill level?
Right.
Be ready to explain the modifications you made
Okay.
and how you ensured the lesson was both challenging and accessible.
That makes sense. Okay, now, for that tricky question about handling difficult students,
Ah, yes.
I know it's important to stay positive and focus on solutions, but I'm still a little nervous about this one.
I understand it can be daunting.
Yeah.
But remember, the interviewer isn't trying to trick you.
Okay.
They just want to gauge your communication and problem-solving skills and see how you maintain a positive learning environment.
So how can I structure my answer to make sure I'm hitting all the right points?
RoleCatcher's interview guide suggests using the STAR method to structure your response.
Okay.
It stands for Situation, Task, Action, Result.
Okay.
Start by describing the situation briefly, then clearly outline the task you were faced with.
Okay.
Next, explain the specific action you took to address the situation. And finally, highlight the positive result of your actions.
So I could say something like, I had a student who was consistently disrupting the class
Yeah.
and making it difficult for others to focus. My task was to address this behavior while maintaining a respectful and supportive relationship with the student.
Right.
I decided to have a private conversation with them to understand what was going on and to see if there was anything I could do to help.
Good.
As a result, the student's behavior improved significantly,
Excellent.
and they were able to participate more fully in class.
That's perfect.
Okay.
That shows you can handle tough situations with professionalism, empathy, and a focus on solutions. Remember, you don't need to go into every detail. Just provide enough information to illustrate your approach and the positive outcome.
Right.
And if you're struggling to come up with a specific example,
Yeah?
RoleCatcher's AI can provide prompts and suggestions to help you brainstorm.
That's a huge relief.
Oh.
Okay, moving on to licensing exams.
Licensing exams.
This is obviously a big deal for beauty schools,
It is.
and they'll want to know that I can prepare students for success.
Right. This is where you can really showcase your knowledge and experience.
Yeah.
RoleCatcher's Career Guide highlights the importance of aligning your curriculum with industry standards and licensing requirements.
So instead of just saying, I'm good at teaching,
Right.
I should mention specific ways I align my curriculum with licensing requirements.
Exactly. You could say something like, I'm meticulous about staying up to date on the latest licensing exam requirements,
Okay.
and I incorporate those standards into every aspect of my teaching,
Yeah.
from the products we use to the techniques we practice.
And don't forget to mention those impressive pass rates.
Yeah.
If my students have a track record of acing those exams, I
Ah,
definitely want to highlight that.
absolutely quantifiable results speak volumes.
Okay.
Now, be prepared for follow-up questions like, what specific resources do you use to help students prepare for the exam? Or how do you identify areas where students need additional support?
Okay.
This is your chance to showcase your deep knowledge and passion for helping students succeed.
Okay. On to question number 5.
Right.
Which is all about adapting my teaching style to meet the needs of diverse learners.
Yes, this is so important.
I know this is really important.
Yeah.
But I'm sometimes unsure how to articulate my approach without just saying I'm flexible.
I understand. Remember, it's all about showing, not telling.
Okay.
Instead of simply stating that you're adaptable.
Yeah.
Give a concrete example of a time when you had to modify your teaching style
Okay.
to accommodate a specific student's needs or a unique learning environment.
So I could talk about a time when I had a student who was a kinesthetic learner, and I incorporated more hands-on activities into my lessons to help them grasp the concepts.
Good example.
Or maybe a student who was struggling with a particular technique.
Yeah.
So I broke it down into smaller, more manageable steps.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Focus on specific strategies you've used, like differentiated instruction visual aids or hands-on activities.
Right.
And explain how those modifications led to improved understanding or engagement for the student.
And if I'm struggling to come up with strong examples,
Yeah.
RoleCatcher's AI can help me brainstorm different learning styles and think about how I've adapted my teaching to meet those needs.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic tool for practicing your responses and getting personalized feedback.
Okay.
Now, let's say you mentioned using visual aids to help a visual learner. The interviewer might ask, what other strategies do you use to engage students with different learning styles?
Okay.
Be prepared to discuss a range of approaches
Right.
and how you assess your students' learning styles in the first place.
Okay, now for that question about a successful lesson or project, which I have to admit I'm actually excited about.
I can tell this is your opportunity to really let your passion and creativity shine.
I do have one in mind,
Good.
but what are some key elements I should include in my answer?
Start by clearly outlining the learning objectives.
Okay.
What specific skills or knowledge did you want your students to gain from this lesson or project? Then describe the activities involved in a way that's engaging and memorable for the listener.
Okay, so instead of just saying we did a project on special effects makeup,
Right.
I could say something like, I designed a project where students had to research different historical periods and then create special effects makeup looks inspired by those eras.
I love that.
It was amazing to see them transform into characters from ancient Egypt, Elizabethan England, and the Victorian era.
Perfect. You're painting a vivid picture and showcasing your ability to create a truly immersive learning experience. And don't forget to talk about the impact. What did your students take away from this project? Did it spark their creativity? Did it deepen their understanding of history and makeup techniques?
Right.
Did it boost their confidence?
I love that it's not just about the activity itself, but about the transformative effect it had on my students.
Right. Now, be prepared for follow-up questions like, what were some of the challenges you encountered while implementing this project? Or how did you measure the effectiveness of the project?
Okay.
This shows that you're thoughtful about your teaching process and always looking for ways to improve.
Okay, now for a question that's becoming increasingly important in today's digital age.
Yes.
How do you incorporate technology into your teaching?
Ooh.
I know this is an area where I can really stand out.
Yeah.
But I also want to make sure I'm approaching it in a thoughtful and strategic way.
Absolutely. It's not just about using technology for the sake of using it.
Right.
It's about understanding how technology can enhance student learning, create more engaging experiences, and prepare them for a rapidly evolving industry.
So what are some specific ways I can showcase my tech savviness without overwhelming the interviewer with jargon?
Start by thinking about the specific technologies you use regularly in your teaching
Okay.
and how they benefit your students.
Yeah.
Do you use online learning platforms to provide additional resources and support?
I do.
Do you incorporate social media to connect with industry professionals and showcase student work?
Yeah.
Do you use virtual reality simulations to give students a more immersive learning experience?
I do use a lot of those tools. For example, I often have students create mood boards on Pinterest
Ooh, I love that.
to explore different aesthetic concepts, and I use Instagram to share their work with a wider audience.
That's fantastic. Those are great examples of how you're integrating technology in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to mention specific apps, software, or platforms that you're familiar with.
Okay.
It shows that you're up to date on the latest tools and trends.
So instead of just saying I use technology in my teaching,
Right.
I could say something like, I regularly use Canva to create interactive presentations. And I encourage my students to use Adobe Photoshop to edit their photos and create digital portfolios.
Exactly. You're showcasing your technical skills and demonstrating how you're using those skills to prepare your students for a digital world.
Yeah.
Now, be prepared for follow-up questions like,
Okay.
what are some of the challenges you've encountered while integrating technology into your teaching? Or how do you ensure that technology is being used responsibly and ethically in the classroom?
That's a good point. I need to be prepared to talk about the potential downsides of technology as well.
Yeah.
Distractions, digital literacy gaps, or ethical considerations.
Right. Showing that you're aware of those challenges demonstrates your critical thinking skills and your commitment to creating a safe and responsible learning environment.
Okay, now let's move on to the question about inclusivity and cultural sensitivity.
Okay.
I know this is an incredibly important topic,
It is.
and I want to make sure I'm conveying my genuine commitment to creating an inclusive and equitable learning environment.
It's great that you're prioritizing this. Remember, the interviewer wants to see that you're not only aware of the importance of diversity and inclusion,
Yeah.
but that you're actively taking steps to create a welcoming and supportive environment for all students.
So what are some specific ways I can articulate my approach to inclusivity without sounding like I'm just reciting a list of buzzwords?
Start by sharing your personal philosophy on inclusivity and diversity.
Okay.
What experiences have shaped your understanding of these concepts?
Hmm.
Why do you believe it's so important to create an inclusive learning environment?
That's a great idea. I could talk about a time when I felt excluded or marginalized because of my own identity, and how that experience has made me more sensitive to the needs of students from diverse backgrounds.
Authenticity is always powerful. Then move on to specific strategies you use to ensure that your course content is inclusive and culturally sensitive. Do you use diverse examples and case studies in your teaching?
Yes.
Do you incorporate materials from a variety of cultural perspectives?
Yeah.
Do you invite guest speakers from different backgrounds to share their experiences with your students?
Those are all great ideas.
Right.
I could also talk about how I use inclusive language and create a space where students feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and perspectives without fear of judgment.
Absolutely. And remember, it's not just about the content itself.
Right.
It's also about the learning environment you create.
Yeah.
Do you have clear guidelines for respectful communication?
Wow.
Do you actively challenge bias and discrimination when you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Do you create opportunities for students to learn about and celebrate different cultures?
I'm realizing that creating an inclusive classroom is an ongoing process, not just one-time fix.
You're absolutely right. It's about ongoing reflection, learning, and growth.
Yeah.
Now, be prepared for follow-up questions. Can you share an example of a time when you had to address a situation where a student felt excluded or marginalized? Or how do you stay informed about the latest developments in diversity and inclusion? These questions give you a chance to showcase your commitment to creating a truly equitable learning environment.
Okay, moving on to the final question about balancing hands-on training with theory.
Okay.
I know both are important,
Yeah.
but I'm sometimes unsure how to articulate the relationship between the two in a way that's clear and compelling.
That's understandable. Think about your own experiences as a beauty professional.
Okay.
How did your theoretical knowledge enhance your practical skills? How did your hands-on experience deepen your understanding of the underlying principles?
Now that you mention it, I remember when I was first learning about color theory, it all seemed so abstract.
Yeah.
Until I started experimenting with different hair colors and seeing how the principles played out in real life.
Exactly. That's the kind of personal anecdote that can really bring your answer to life. And it shows that you understand the symbiotic relationship between theory and practice.
So how can I structure my answer to showcase this understanding?
Start by stating your philosophy on the relationship between theory and practice.
Okay.
Do you believe they should be taught separately or integrated? Do you believe one is more important than the other?
Okay.
Then explain how you approach this balance in your teaching.
Okay, so I could say something like, I believe that theory and practice are equally important in beauty education. I strive to create a learning environment where students can seamlessly move between the two.
Yeah.
Applying theoretical concepts to practical situations and using their hands-on experiences to deepen their understanding of the underlying principles.
Perfect. You're clearly articulating your philosophy
Yeah.
and demonstrating a thoughtful approach to teaching.
And I can then go on to describe specific strategies I use to integrate theory and practice.
Right.
Like demonstrations, role-playing, or case studies.
Right. And don't forget to mention any specific teaching techniques you use to bridge the gap between theory and practice,
Okay.
like using visual aids, creating hands-on activities, or encouraging students to ask questions and share their insights.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now be prepared for follow-up questions, like how do you assess student learning in both theoretical and practical areas?
Right.
Or what feedback mechanisms do you use to ensure that students are mastering both aspects of the curriculum? These questions give you a chance to showcase your expertise in assessment and feedback.
Okay.
Absolutely. And remember, RoleCatcher's AI-powered feedback tool can be invaluable here.
Yeah.
You can practice your answers to these questions and get personalized tips on how to make your responses more concise, impactful, and tailored to the specific job you're applying for.
That's right. These tools can really help me feel more confident and prepared, which will shine through in my interview.
It will.
But it's not just about the tools, it's about the passion and dedication I bring to the table. My enthusiasm for beauty education is contagious. And that's something that no AI can replicate.
Absolutely. So let's move on to the final part of our deep dive, where we'll wrap up with some key takeaways and some final thoughts to leave you feeling inspired and ready to rock that interview. Wow, we really have covered a lot of ground today. From understanding those different career paths available to like tackling those tricky interview questions.
Yeah, it's been quite the deep dive. But before we wrap things up, let's distill some key takeaways.
Yes.
To help you really shine in that interview.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's crystallize all this great advice into some actionable nuggets.
First and foremost, remember to be yourself.
Yes.
Let your passion and enthusiasm for beauty education shine through. That's what will truly connect with the interviewer.
That's such a good point. Sometimes I get so caught up in trying to give the right answer that I forget to let my personality shine.
It's natural to feel nervous.
Yeah.
But try to approach the interview as a conversation, a chance to share your passion and learn more about the school or program.
And speaking of learning, remember that this interview is a two-way street.
It is.
Don't be afraid to ask your own questions about the curriculum, the school culture, professional development opportunities.
Yes.
It shows you're genuinely interested and that you're thinking long-term.
Absolutely. And as you prepare for those questions, remember the power of storytelling, weaving in anecdotes about your experiences with students, your passion for the industry, and your commitment to education can make your answers so much more engaging and memorable.
I love that advice. Stories really do stick with people.
They do.
They help us connect on a deeper level.
Now, thinking back to our discussion about career paths, remember that this role can be a stepping stone to so many different opportunities.
Right.
Maybe you see yourself developing curriculum, leading a team of educators, or even opening your own beauty school someday.
It's exciting to think about all the possibilities.
It is, and RoleCatcher's Career Guide can help you explore those possibilities and map out a plan for your future.
And don't forget about RoleCatcher's AI tools. They can help you tailor your resume and practice your interview answers, giving you that extra edge.
Absolutely. Their AI-powered feedback is like having a personal coach guiding you every step of the way.
So as you step into that interview room, remember to breathe.
Yes.
Be yourself.
Yeah.
And let your passion shine through.
Here's one final thought to leave you with.
Okay.
What sparked your passion for beauty education? Was it a mentor who inspired you? A transformative experience with a client? A deep desire to share your knowledge and skills with others?
Hold on to that spark, that driving force that makes you want to make a difference in the lives of aspiring beauty professionals.
Because you have something special to offer, and the right school or program will recognize and embrace that.
We're confident that with the right preparation
Yes.
and a whole lot of heart,
Mm-hmm.
you'll land that dream job and embark on a fulfilling career as a beauty vocational teacher. Good luck and go make those beauty dreams a reality.
Yes, go get 'em.